They are the backbone of chefs and cooks here in the Comox Valley. They're incredibly important, and we're going to talk about them today.
I'm chef and host Jonathan Frazier.
And I'm William Stringer, realtor and host of the weekend show on 98.9 Jet FM.
And I'm the owner here at Locals Restaurant, and today we're going to talk about the North Vancouver Island Culinary Association.
This is the Edible Valley podcast.
Do you ever wonder where your food comes from? That's what got us started on this adventure.
In each episode, we ask experts to weigh in on the food topics that matter to you, from growers to producers to chefs.
And I challenge John, Darren and you to learn more about your food and the stories behind it. From our hub on Vancouver Island in the beautiful Comox Valley, join us as we explore our Edible Valley.
And a very good day to you. I'm really excited about this one because I'm doing the best thing for me. I'm being a layman. I'm a layman in so many areas of my life, but I'm learning. We're going to talk about the Chefs Association. To my right, I've got Lesley. Lesley, what is your position at the Chefs Association?
I am currently the president of the North Vancouver Island branch. I have a multitude of hats. So, like most people, I do.
She's got a lot of hats.
I have a lot of hats. With the Culinary Association, I am also on the national board as the ethics chair. And I work a lot with the competitions and that sort of thing, which is really odd because I am not a competitor. I never was. Right. But it's more of a support thing for supporting students that want to do that.
Okay.
I always say with Lesley, if there's a chef in Canada, there's a 99% chance she knows who they are and has met them on several occasions. So
okay, excellent. Yeah. So is it right to describe the Chefs Association as kind of a backbone of chefing here in the Comox Valley?
I think it's the backbone of the learning piece and the support piece. Okay. That's what we like to do because there is it is so far-reaching. So we cover a lot with the college, the high schools, so the pieces that you maybe don't necessarily associate with it, as well as going into different kitchens and meeting different chefs and cooks, but also students as well. So.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So I imagine there's a bit in any small community in Canada, a bit of a brain drain if someone wants to be an amazing chef, like in any industry. Oh, do I go to Vancouver? Do I go to Victoria? But this, as a valley, you can really excel. I get the impression food in this valley has just skyrocketed over the last couple of decades. What would you say about that?
Absolutely. And I think that the whole local movement has been something that has really, really worked well for the Comox Valley because they were doing it long before it was ever really trendy or anything like that. And mostly just because of our isolation, so we built on that right from the very beginning. And we're very lucky that we have not one, but we have two schools in a relative proximity, both VIU in Nanaimo and NIC in Campbell River. So to have that support, to be able to support those culinary programs is very unique for such a small area.
So you've got some events coming up. We were actually talking about this a little bit before the podcast started. We were talking about how breweries have popped up left, right and centre in the last decade in this Comox Valley. And I was at Ace Brewing last week. I tried their briskets, the slow cooked sous vide brisket burger. They are taking food to another level. But that seems to be something that a lot of the breweries are doing. It's not just about pulling up at a tavern and pouring a beer.
Absolutely.
What are the events you're doing at the moment with the breweries?
Well, in a couple of weeks, we're actually doing a brewery tour, just reacquainting ourselves with them.
Brewery tour?
Yes.
Is that code?
Yeah. We haven't done it. I was going to say, I think the last time we did it, there was only about a small group of us. We went around and did it in January, just kind of on our own. And we learned a lot just by doing that. This is actually a little bit more structured. We want them to be expecting us, knowing what we're looking for, how they can expand their repertoire, and showing us what they're doing. Because a lot of the things that the bonus with being in a brewery is that you have access to beer. And I know that sounds really funny, but it's true. Why can't you be marrying that with what you're serving? As far as food is concerned, whether you're actually putting it in the food or you are making sure that they work together. And that's the piece of taking it to the next level. And as I said to you, there is no excuse for bad food in this valley. Absolutely not. Really, no. I don't think, whether it's between what is available for product or what is available for expertise and for people who have so much knowledge in the food end of food.
Now, you have to excuse me, but a lot of my references are from the UK. But I'm aware that since the smoke... Oh, my microphone's disappearing. Hello! Since the smoking ban that I know came to Canada as well, pubs have slowly evolved from being these kind of late-night tavern sort of places where you have drinks and it's mostly guys, to almost being these gastro pubs, to being these places that you can come, have world-class foods. And it's really... something that if you don't do food, you don't survive as a business. They've really transformed since the smoking ban to being almost bistros that whole families can come to. Is that the kind of thing that's happened here too?
It was a lot of things that changed, because it wasn't just the smoking ban. It's changes in the liquor laws. And especially post-COVID, we've had a huge amount. And they are things that really, as restaurant people and chefs, we've been fighting for a long time. So the fact that they've actually finally started to morph is wonderful. The smoking ban was a big deal, but it's also almost a natural evolution of the aging population and the way people are seeing places to go out now, and also wanting to be inclusive in terms of having their kids be able to come with them. I can remember when you were separated. There was a ladies' entrance and a men's entrance, and that says it all: ladies and men. Okay, right. So. The other piece there is the acknowledgement that you can have really, really good food that doesn't necessarily have to be what we classify as fine dining. Fine dining is something that's very, very separate. But having food that is good and healthy, tasty, reasonably priced, and that you want to keep coming back to, and you can afford, is not something that should be out of reach for everybody.
I love the social atmosphere of it. I've always loved that food is something that brings people together. And that's what I find with a lot of these brew pubs, is they've given you that opportunity to come together. And now that they're leading that you can bring families in and do that, it's making it a much more social event. And so it's not about getting drunk, which I hate to say out loud. It's about actually just going out and connecting with people.
Didn't you just put a beer tap in your house, John?
I may have put a beer tap on it. and that may be
You're hoping people are going to show up?
Yeah.
That's called chucking your mate to the dogs. I got the invitation.
I know. They still haven't shown up, so I don't know if it's working out for me yet.
No, but excellent point. I've got to add this. It might not be the most fashionable thing, but do you think there's a move towards lower alcohol and having them as more general social places? As someone who would love to drink beer but can't because he just gets catastrophically drunk on one pint.
Well, there's a lot more alcohol that's not alcohol anymore. Is it beers that have no alcohol, cocktails that have no alcohol?
Right. Yeah.
So I think that whole movement, if you had asked a restaurant person whether or not that they could make a profit on a non-alcoholic cocktail 30 years ago, they'd tell you what would be the point? Why? It's like,
They'd
why?
laugh at you.
Whereas now it's actually seen as something that's quite viable. And people will actually spend money to do that.
There are even alcohol-free pubs in places like London, UK, that are appearing. And the next generation, is it Generation X after the millennials?
The usual shrug.
They are actually drinking less than the generation before them, the millennials, which I'm part of. And it's an interesting trend, and I'm wondering if breweries now are jumping onto that bandwagon.
I would think they would have to.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all seen that, is that if you don't, it doesn't mean you have to take everything in, but if you don't acknowledge that piece, even when more stringent laws for drinking and driving came in, as an establishment, if you didn't acknowledge that you had a designated driver, or you had something available for them, or you were watching out for them, you were going to get left behind in one way or another.
Yeah.
Whether it's just that people will stop going there, or it's that you're legally responsible. It's like those things are going to change anyway. How much or how little they change remains to be seen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think we're slipping away from the Chefs Association.
I know we
here a
are.
little bit.
Yeah.
But it's great conversation. But
Yes.
we should go back, because the Chefs Association is no longer called the Chefs Association. And maybe you'd like to explain that one to us.
This came up a few years ago, actually. It started at the national level. It was always the Canadian Culinary Federation. And they went into a rebranding about 5 or 6 years ago, and dropped it down to just the Culinary Federation. And when I was involved in a lot of those meetings and workshops at the national level. And when we came back here, one of the things that we've always found, the minute we walk into a kitchen where we're not known, is whoever is on the line or behind the stove says, "Oh, I'm not a chef, I can't join." And we kept hearing this over and over again. So we thought, well, wait a minute. Our organization is made up of a really broad cross-section. It includes chefs, cooks, line cooks, culinary students, apprentices, and associates. And associates, we can't survive without them. They are our fishermen, our farmers, our producers, and also just people who want to be involved with us.
Yeah.
Because we've
foodies.
usually got our head down in the kitchen, and we need somebody to do our front end with us. So we always welcome other people to come and who want to hang out, talk about food, and work with chefs.
Yeah.
It's super important. So we took a really close look at that and said, okay, we're going to change our name from the North Vancouver Island Chefs Association to the North Vancouver Island Culinary Association, because we wanted to be more inclusive. We felt that this is really important, so that the first thing out of people's mouths when we arrive is not, well, I'm not a chef, I can't be a part of this. Yes, you can. It's just a willingness to be a part of it. And you don't have to come to everything. It's not like you've sold your soul. I mean, Jonathan and I may have, but that's a little different. But it's a matter of plugging into an association that is doing things, that is reaching out, is involved in the high schools, is involved in the culinary programs at the colleges. It is working with people that are opening new kitchens, doing new things. And if you only want to do just a little piece of it, fine, that's great. Yeah, just do the small piece.
If you just want to come for a little food, just to sample some stuff, that's
fine
an opportunity.
too.
I imagine if you're someone that's doing a cook or someone that's a part-time chef somewhere, you might think, well, no, this is for the people at the top, or this is for specific. No. But it doesn't work if all the pieces of the jigsaw aren't in there.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
everyone has a perspective.
Absolutely. And I mean, if we were all only restaurateurs or executive chefs, it would be pretty boring.
Yeah.
I just want to talk about Lesley here, because I feel like she brought that to the North Vancouver Island Chefs Association. Because at one time the Chefs Association was considered an old boys club, Right.
Yeah.
I remember my first meeting, I walked in and it was all the chefs I had worked under. In my
So it's
entire
almost
career.
a little bit threatening.
It was a little bit threatening because
Yeah.
it was really intimidating, because
Yeah.
it was all the guys who had yelled at me and
Made you feel stupid.
and tortured me for how many years,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden, but then it was rewarding because I was sitting at the table with these people.
He knows your names, by the way.
As an
Yeah.
equal.
Yeah.
And so it was really, for me, it was a nice thing, and I slowly started getting more and more involved. And the more I got involved, the more I realized that I wanted to be more, that I thought this would be better if it was broadened, And Lesley came in and was like, brought in the associates, brought in the farmers, brought in all these other people, and just opened up the organization to everyone.
Right.
And
Yeah.
and all of a sudden now I can't believe how many cooks I've worked with that I've just been like, oh, I'm really short someone. And they're like, oh, I can work for you. And it's like, it's perfect, right?
So it's relevant.
Very much so.
Yeah. It's
And
really
that's
relevant.
that's the thing that needs to, you need to come back. This is our professional association. Every profession has one, and it speaks to you and for you. And so therefore, we need to be accountable to the cooks and chefs in the valley. So it's very much a two-way street that way. We are there to mentor people, to support them, but we also are looking for mentors within our community to step up and be willing to. I am forever matching up students and chefs or cooks or kitchens. And as you know, you just mentioned being at a brew pub. There's no reason that a student can't go in and learn things there and be an apprentice, but they have to be able to get something out of it, and we have to know that they're not going to be the abuse that Jonathan put up with. I mean, it's okay to be told you've done it wrong, but there's also a support system there that needs to be built in. So all the students are different, and some of them will thrive in certain cultures and others will thrive in others, and it's I feel personally that it's our mission and vision to be able to bring them all up and to be able to match them up with the best place for them to thrive.
Okay, so a little bit of a juicy question from the Chefs Association. This kind of Gordon Ramsay style, you're doing it wrong in the kitchen, is that more of a thing in the past? Was it ever really a thing? And is it as much of a thing now?
It is in some ways, because being in a kitchen is very, very stressful, first off. It's very high energy and
a lot of adrenaline.
Yeah, a lot of adrenaline. And I know that I'm not particularly aggressive in a lot of ways, but I've had my husband turn to me and say, I'm not your staff.
Wow. Yeah.
So... and so some people would say, you mean, you shouldn't be talking to your staff that way either. It's true, but there is also a point where there's an understanding in the kitchen that you have a sense of expediency. I can't be worrying about how I'm going to get the message across. I need it, and I need it now, and it needs to be done properly. And you have to be very, very clear about that. And we're constantly evolving and working with this. So every chef is going to be different. There are always going to be times when you're going to lose your temper. You will in any pressure cooker situation. It's a matter of, coming back to it and saying, okay, are you okay with that? We had a really tough night. A few things fell apart, and we did the best we could.
I know from being around the Atlas Cafe that their way of dealing with this, because there's a lot of heat in the kitchen, it's an incredibly small kitchen, they're like a little army in there, everyone's doing their job, there's a lot of passion, but they have the procedures in place.
Yes.
So when the chef goes, we're running low on this, the message gets around through front of house staff. When you want to speak to the chef, you say, Chef, may I speak? There's the systems in place.
Absolutely.
Does it work 100% of the time? If anyone says in their kitchen it works 100% of the time,
they're lying.
They're lying.
but you try.
You do, and with the systems, it works 99% of the time.
Yeah, and it's very creative. So when you get, it's the science of being in the kitchen, where it's, some things you can't move. You cannot create something. I mean, I remember having a practically knockdown, drag 'em out fight with my chef because we'd run out of rack of lamb. There was only some in the freezer. Somebody had just ordered it, and I'm going, no, it's like, pull it. Because by the time it gets, and we have no microwave at this time, by the time it gets thawed, semi-cooked, and then it was going to be wrapped in puff pastry on top of it, there's no way that rack of lamb is going to be what we consider the standard we want to have.
Right.
And so we're better off to say, I'm very sorry. Please come back if this is the thing that you really, really wanted. Make it sweet for the customer, but don't serve something that's substandard either.
Wow.
And that's, when you're in a situation like that, it's very hard to turn away money. But you need to be clear.
Thinking long term.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know it bites me every time that you put a plate up there and you see it and you're like, there's something a little bit wrong. And then you're looking at the list and you're like, do I let it go? And it should be fine, or you're like, no, I should pull it back and
Here's the
put
thing,
that extra time.
Because to you as a chef, that's one of however many 100 meals. that go out, desserts, starters, mains. But to one person, that's something they've been looking forward to for weeks. They've been earning the money for it.
Yep.
They've been telling, I'm looking forward to going to Locals or Land and Sea or wherever it may be. It's their hard work, and it is our jobs to make sure they have a good time.
It's their hard-earned money that they're spending on you.
Yeah.
The one line that I hate the most is, it's good enough.
Yes. No.
To me, that makes me just squirrely.
Yeah.
It really, really does.
You imagine if it's your relatives, if it's, you know.
And it's about delivering what you said you're going to do, like what the menu says, and that's where it's important to communicate with your front staff and that sort of thing, just because you need to all be on the same page.
Yeah, and I've done it a bunch of times where I just pull down a dish and say, no, not going.
Nice.
And you just see the staff, they're just like, but... And I'm like, come on, guys. And they're like, yeah, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
you know what?
There's a heated moment. And then once they look down at it and they're like, yeah, you're right. I shouldn't have done that, you know, so.
So we've had my layman question. John's got a few higher end questions.
Well, you know what? We've been talking about the Chefs Association. We've talked about why people should get involved about it. But like, let's talk about some of the events, because we're talking about, we've talked about the beer tour.
Yep. So we've done a lot of things. Like COVID was obviously, like many people, we pulled really back. We needed to keep everyone safe.
We learned how to do Zoom.
We kind of took baby steps as far as being involved with things. But this year we've really come out gangbusters as of January. We've got lots of things on the go. We were at the Philburg Summer Kitchen for a January social. We ran a workshop on fermentation and canning. And we included the farmers market people if they wanted to be with us.
I missed that one, and everyone that went was like, it was incredible.
Yes.
They learned so much. I had a couple of my cooks go in there and were like, and I've been going through all their notes and stuff lately. So
it was really, really nice to be able to work, because the really cool thing about that workshop is that even people who've been canning for a while or fermenting for a while came. So it wasn't just standing there and listening to one person. We had one person adjudicating and basically doing a lot of the organizing piece of it, but then we brought in multiple other members and people that were going to be there to bring in their expertise, whether it was food safe, marketing, different, and we even went through, it was held at the Pickle Carrot kitchen, and so Steve did a tour of how to use different machines. Muriel did a discussion on how to use auctions, and you know, if you're building a kitchen, I mean, all different pieces. Really, really awesome.
And then, we should power through because I know we're getting low on time here. But what other events have we got coming up here?
Coming up. Okay, well, we've just come through Skills. So the regional Skills will be supporting people going to the provincial Skills. I will be judging there probably in April. We're doing a Forest to Dinner tour. It's a foraging company that is out of Qualicum, and that will be for, towards the end of April. We are doing a dinner at Seaview Farms. We're renting their pavilion the end of May, and we're doing a whole lamb on a spit, which is kind of cool. That's always fun. It's the 60th anniversary for the Culinary Federation. The national conference is the first week of June. That will be in Niagara Falls, so several of us are going to and that will be
I
full on.
may be actually going to that.
Yeah, I'm really pushing him.
Niagara is a really foodie and winey and everything sort of area. I was there last year, and it's gorgeous.
I have to say, I've done a couple tours of the college that's there, and it is really cool to go and see what they're doing there, because they're growing their grapes. They've got a distillery program. It's always nice to see what the rest of the world is doing. It is so neat. And this year, I'm going to say it wrong. It's the Nordic countries are actually doing a full afternoon workshop, I believe, and the Nordic countries are Finland, Norway, Sweden, Iceland, Denmark, and they've actually asked to come to this event. So that is really cool to have them presenting to us. And then we will be involved in the Seafood Festival the end of June as well.
Up Mount Washington,
Yes. Yes, we will be doing a collaboration with the Pacific Halibut and with the North Island College to do the I guess the intro lunch on the Friday afternoon, and also doing one of the master classes with the halibut, because we have a collaboration with that. The other thing that I do want to talk about quickly is that we normally do the Food Fest. Anyone who has heard us talk about the association before knows that we work with the Comox Valley Farmers Market.
Yep.
And we've just come out of one on the March 4th. We did one there, and we did offal, which was really challenging and really interesting, and turned a lot of people on their heads as far as, ooh, that's interesting. Okay, this summer, instead of doing a really big one with the main Saturday event, we're going to be working more with the Wednesday, and we're going to be there once a month, and we're going back to our basics with the farmers market.
Is that the Wednesday farmers
the
market
Wednesday,
in downtown Courtney?
Yeah, on Duncan.
Okay.
And they're going to be working we're doing more teaching piece in it and demonstrations on how to do more basic recipes and how to actually navigate the farmers market for people who have never been there before. Okay,
this is a great idea.
Okay.
The farmers market is if you wanted to get healthy, you wanted to tap in to the local food scene, go to the farmers market is job one. You will not regret it.
So it'll be utilization of available products, simple recipes, shopping in season, and so because a lot of people, they have the opportunity to go to something like that and they're overwhelmed. They don't understand how to make it work for them. So we're doing it at the Wednesday market because it's much smaller. We've got much better control, and so it's not as overwhelming. And we're working in conjunction some community partners as well. Other communities, other parts of the community, and so we'll be doing things like really simple, like fresh salsa, applesauce, soups, some stocks, things like that, building blocks, so that people can actually work with the market when they have the opportunity to go there, whether it's with the coupon program or with any of the other programs that are already in place, so that they're not overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And because if you haven't been brought up on the farmers market, and it can be very challenging the first time, especially the Saturday market on when it's full on in the summer. I mean, as you know, it's huge, and it's just like, how do I cope with this?
70, 80 stalls sometimes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this is bringing it down and simplifying it. So we will be there once a month. So it will be much lower key and more communication with the people that are needing those pieces. Okay, does that make sense?
Amazing, absolutely. Yeah. And I support that. That's a real way of local people tapping into that local food scene at that base level. It's not in a threatening way. It's in a way where you're going to walk away and think, wow, I learned so much there. You're going to feel inspired, and you're going to go away and start actually using this amazing food community.
So when you ask what the Culinary Association does in the Valley, that's just one of our many community pieces. Yeah. So how do you describe that? I mean, we do the Food Fest. We also do a raffle for Transition House, for a dinner. So those are all pieces that we give back to the community. And you can be a part of that. Come out to one of our Food Fests and either volunteer or even just come and see what we're doing.
I have one more thing, and I know Will wants to shut her down because we're going late, but I love it. And it's because it's coming up time right now is that new chefs and cooks and even old chefs that have been around for a while, we do have a huge bursary system.
Yes.
And sorry, are we doing bursaries or are we doing scholarships?
Scholarships.
We're doing scholarships. Bursaries are dead.
Yeah, well, bursaries are based on on need, and where scholarships is more something you earn.
Okay.
Right. So we went to a scholarship system, and so there's a lot of money that the organization has that's available for people who want to move forward in the industry. And it's something that a lot of people don't apply for, and it's very easy to get is you come out and join us in events and you volunteer.
You just participate.
Yeah.
Really. And it's all fun. Like when you talk about a chef screaming at you, I can promise you nobody's ever been screamed at any of our events.
Okay, there you go. And if you work very hard, you could be the one doing the screaming.
Not allowed.
Not allowed. That was a joke.
Allowed. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well, Lesley, president of the Chefs Association here in North Island, thank you so much for joining us. I learned a lot.
Yeah.
I learned a lot.
Yeah. Yes, and we're going to have her back.
Yes.
With Tammy from the
Isfield
Yes.
Yes,
Amazing.
She's the Culinary Club at Isfield, and she does amazing work.
And we'll set you up with Land and the Rock Patrol Cruiser at 98.9 Jet FM. We want to be part of the local community, so we'll get you set up with them so you can do a bit of shouting about it.
Sure.
And I look forward to our paths crossing again very soon.
I'm sure.
Amazing.
Okay. Thank you.
Okie dokie. Well, that was
Okay.
it. That's another nuttable.
No.
I kind of mixed the words up there.
You can make
That's
it up.
another Edible Valley podcast. We've been going since 2011. We absolutely love it. Thank you for tuning in.
And thank you for listening.
Cheers.
And that wraps up another episode of the Edible Valley podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and a special thanks goes to the local businesses that help support our podcast. They make it possible for us to showcase your local food community. We'd love you to follow us on your preferred social media at Edible Valley, where you can check out our blog, find recipes and tips, behind the scenes, and of course keep a lookout for where we are going to turn up next in your Edible Valley.
There we go.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah. That's way
When
better.
in doubt, make sure it's plugged in.
There we go. Coming through loud and clear.
Okay, good
All
job.
right, let's move the microphone there. We really need to do a basics podcast course. We've only been doing this for 12 years. Come
Yeah,
on.
you think we'd know
Yeah.
what we're doing by now.
Okay.
And this has been an Edible Valley production.
Yeah. Beep, 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 beep. Okay, ready again?